We think of society in terms of boxes. We constantly want to group people together by likeness. Within our social construct, it makes sense to want to divide people by looks, personality traits, similarities. It's the easy thing to do, right? This innate labeling system within our brains is known as social categorization, the natural cognitive process by which we place individuals into social groups. However, this doesn't make it right to judge each other by those likenesses, causing differences. Society wants to put labels, markers on individuals based on the color of their skin. You know, racism. Walking down a busy street on a Saturday, you may pass a stranger and automatically begin to internally describe them as old or Asian or transgender. Doing so leads us to thinking of the individual in terms of the group they belong to, not seeing the person for who they are as a single human being. We have to stop viewing people by their skin color and stereotypical labels and learn to want to understand individuals for who they are in order to improve intercultural communication on a mass scale. The Oxford Languages definition of racism is, quote, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular race or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized, end quote. And Merriam-Webster defines it as, quote, a belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capabilities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race, end quote. Since race is a socially formed belief, we can collectively choose to not judge others based on their skin color, ethnicity, or cultural beliefs. Historically, individuals who have lived underprivileged lives are non-whites who lack the necessary means to survive in a world of globalization. These marginalized groups have been denied basic human rights for centuries because our social structures encourage it. From slavery to deeming intercultural relationships illegal to not providing a proper pay wage by modern-day standards, society's constructs were created without consideration for all people. It was not that long ago, since 1967 Loving v. Virginia civil rights case, that people from differing cultural backgrounds couldn't even marry. Now we're fighting for marriage rights for the LGBTQ+ community, and it feels all too familiar. According to Chapter 2 in our textbook, access, availability, and visibility of different cultures reflect power relations among cultures. The more powerful groups of people in society have full access to whatever they may need and are also appropriately represented in the media. Since the European colonial period, white people have controlled society's power roles and created the us versus them agenda in order to maintain control. Power within the media, politics, and economics is in the hands of whites, mostly white males at that. Other culture groups have been muted, and now that they are speaking up with social justice movements like Black Lives Matter, it is time for white people like myself to hand over the megaphone, listen, and act in support of our fellow humans who are brought down by an unjust system each and every day. I try to imagine how my life would have been shaped by historical, societal, and cultural standards if I didn't see my kind being effectively represented in the media. What I mean is, I unknowingly grew up privileged beyond what we typically think of as white privilege because I grew up in a world where the media and society supported my lifestyle and upbringing. If I wanted a doll that looked like me, there were 15 to choose from. If I wanted to see what a prom dress looked like before buying it online, a Caucasian model was there to show me. The media lacks representation and often misrepresents individuals belonging to minority groups. Recently, changes have been made to include more people from various cultural backgrounds in ad campaigns, TV commercials, non-stereotypical movie roles, and so on. Unfortunately, misrepresentations of these groups often take away from the good that is trying to be done by including them in the first place. For example, a male who is from India but has lived in America most of his life probably doesn't want to partake in a marketing campaign if he's the token Asian guy who is made out to be what many Americans view all Asian people as stereotypically. Racism is a passive trait since some of us are raised under the us versus them mindset. We have to consciously decide to refute racism, stand up against it, and avoid judging others in terms of minority or cultural groups. Podcasts like NPR's Code Switch discusses racial issues in today's society from the perspective of journalists of color. It is reassuring that individuals from differing cultural and ethnic backgrounds can talk openly on a public forum about the struggles of racial issues to find common ground on the matter. Media outlets like podcasts provide a judge-free space for people to come together and recognize we are all people trying to find our way through this world. I'm extremely thankful for the content of this class. It has been a positive reminder that each and every one of us can make a difference in the world of racism. We can all make a conscious effort to erase inherent racist mindsets and replace that thought process with appreciation for other cultures.